Five different nachos. Five different nachos. Last train to Awesome Town. Come on, everybody, won't you party with me now? Last train to Awesome Town. Come on, won't you party with me? Do. Last train to Awesome Town. The roof is on fire, gonna burn it to the ground. Yeah. Last train to Awesome Town. Come on, won't you party with me? Party with me. Party with me. Party with me. Party with me. Five different nachos.
Yes, indeed. 5 different kinds of nachos. That's what we can expect here. Sorry, I know it's not what you were expecting, guys. That was I'm not too fancy. That's
Who could not be excited about 5 different kinds of nachos?
I
I
know.
was dancing to that song.
I like that song. It's pretty good. So, all right. In today's show, we will be general, just like my first show was, and we will tell you more about ourselves and what our favorite things are. And we'll bring you news and such. We will also have your nerd vocab with your nerdy news, and then maybe our final thoughts. Final words of wisdom that we can bring you. Think of it as a morning show, except at 3 p.m. instead of 6 a.m.
My morning.
It's like your afternoon snack.
Sure.
5 different kinds of nachos.
5 different nachos.
This ties in. This works.
Yes, indeed. Also, later we will talk about the new superhero movies, like the new X-Men and the Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as the Winter Soldier. You guys excited already?
I am. I love Captain America.
I like movies in that vein, period. I mean, I don't think you could really go wrong with, Captain America hitting stuff. And
Let's be honest here. Who doesn't like Marvel?
yeah,
Not a lot. There's a few people.
we're watching you.
There's
Those people, we're watching you.
a few DC people. But yeah, it's gonna be a good show, and we're gonna take a small little break, get a breather. I know it's kind of quick. I'll iron out the details later, guys. It's a work in progress. Stop shaking your head. It's really weird. All right, if this will work. All right, here we go. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. All right, welcome back to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation AM Radio. And I am Caleb, and I have with me my minions. Mwah. I thought I would just put... All right. And we will get to know one another. So, I have here Rachel.
I didn't sign up to be a minion.
And then we have Bryce.
Yeah, this wasn't in the contract.
You signed an invisible contract. I have your souls now. Here's your souls. All right. So, I'll start. I mean, unless Rachel wants to start, because ladies first. Unless you don't.
What if I want to start?
Do you want to start, Bryce?
No.
Are you a lady?
Yes. Oh. Oh, goodness. All right. Well,
That's at least a C cup.
jeez.
That's me, by the way, not her.
This- Whoa, okay. Alrighty then. Well, let's
Right?
just
I mean, maybe. Am I
okay.
wrong?
I'll go ahead and start. Just so we get the ball rolling here. All right. So the question is, what is your favorite comic book person, hero or villain? Doesn't matter, and why? Well, my favorite comic book poisons is Deadpool, because I have his jacket, and for one thing, and he's crazy and unpredictable, and he has dual blades, so I like that.
And lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
For the
Lots of
record,
guns.
his jacket is cool, so you should be jealous.
Yeah. So me and Deadpool are a lot alike, only that I'm not a mercenary, and I'm not as crazy as him. But
You
I'm
also
pretty
don't
close.
have multiple personality disorder.
That's still on the fence.
And that sort of functional immortality sort of thing. I'm pretty sure you don't have that either, but, whatever.
Yeah, he has a healing factor way better than Wolverine's. Like, he gets his head cut off all the time. He just pops it back on and says, I'm okay.
Let's make waffles.
Let's make waffles. Yeah, that's great. All right, Rachel?
Well, my favorite superhero, I mean, Deadpool's way up there on the list. I love me some Deadpool. But I gotta say Spider-Man. He was my first superhero that I really, really loved. Why? Let's get real here, guys. He is the Sass Master. I don't know if you guys have ever watched, like, the original ones from the 60s, but All kinds of sass. He sasses everyone. Someone says something to him, and quick sass.
I love the memes for the old 60s Spider-Man, like the cartoon thing. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here. I'm not going any further with that, but
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, for me, I'm not really big into comic books per se, but I do enjoy some aspects. And for a brief time when I was younger, I did read the Superman comics around the time of his death, and it seemed like it was such a big deal back then that everybody just kind of had to get sucked into it, and I really enjoyed it. And more recently, I was kind of thinking about getting back into it, but I kind of stopped with that. Around the time when Superman decided, I guess that he announced that he was renouncing his United States citizenship and that he had sort of more of a worldly type citizenship thing, and that kind of hurt because I totally buy into the whole Superman propaganda. I love that.
He belongs to Earth.
He belongs to the U.S.
Belongs to-
America.
It's too good for
America.
Too good for
America.
America. Just because I wear red and blue, and maybe a little white because of his skin.
Wasn't he raised in
Red,
Iowa?
white, and blue. There you go. Sorry. All right. We'll move on. The next question is, what is your favorite anime? Now, for those of you who don't know what an anime is, maybe Rachel can actually explain it a lot better. Just
Okay, an anime, it's essentially what it is it's a cartoon from Japan. It has a very specific style. There's
Big
different
eyes.
types of anime. Like there's something called Bishonen, which is very, very beautiful men in all of those. But for a more, detailed description, not basic like mine, Japanese cartoons, you can just look it up on Google. Google is your best friend in this instance.
I'm sorry to just put that on you, but I'm like, I can't get the words out of my face to explain this. I'll have Rachel explain it instead. All right, sorry about that. You can punch me later. That's good. All right. So I'll start. We'll do this is a little circle. My favorite anime would probably be Sword Art Online, because again, with the dual blades, this is my weapon of choice. And Bryce is doing something really weird, and I thought I'd just point that out. I don't know what he's doing. He's writing something down. Oh, right. Okay.
I was trying to give you some subtle advice without alerting our audience, but that's great.
Too late. Just let him know.
What's good about Sword Art Online is it's so, entirely based in video gaming, online video gaming. For those of you who haven't watched it, it is available right now on Netflix streaming. It has it in Japanese with subtitles as well as dubbed, which is English voices. So
So a little more clarification on that. It's like episodic anime that's based in video games?
yes, what it is a video game has been released where you're actually in a virtual reality,
Yeah,
a la
they got the-
Oculus Rift, but actually real. It sucks your brain into the video game, and you live there. The creator has trapped them there, so to get out, they have to beat the final boss.
Which, to do that, they have to go up 100 levels of various terrains and difficulties and such. It's like...
And if you
the-
die in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah.
If your family member tries to remove the virtual reality helmet from your person, you die.
Yay.
Yeah, it's great. And it's family fun. Not really family fun. There's not a lot of blood in it, actually, which I like, because I'm not a gory person. Sorry, not dang it. Okay. Hi.
Well, my favorite anime has got to be it's really popular. It's one of those bandwagon animes, but I like Black Butler. Some of you may know it as Kuroshitsuji. If I butchered that pronunciation, I apologize.
Bless you.
She's not Japanese.
Oh, she didn't sneeze, did she?
Yeah, no, I didn't sneeze.
Oh, my bad.
But it's about a kid whose parents die in a fire, and he makes a deal with a demon in order to get revenge on whoever killed his parents. That sounds like every orphan movie ever made. But it's really good. It combines elements of horror and humor and just general all-around fun. And apparently they're doing a new season of it now. It was just announced 2 weeks ago, so I'm pretty excited.
Wow, awesome. Bryce, do you have anything? It doesn't have to be a Japanese anime. It could be like...
I like anime.
Okay.
I like anime. Yeah, I actually got my start with anime back in the early '90s, maybe late '80s. Whenever MTV would do their late night, just anime thons, basically from like 11 o'clock at night till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they would play nothing but anime. Things like Fist of the North Star, Vampire Hunter D, Eon Flux, obviously. But for me, Vampire Hunter D is my favorite anime. It's just one of those classics that really endures. It's got a deep dystopian theme to it, and I really, really enjoy that movie. And the sequel was really good, too. They're actually based on the novels of, I can't remember the guy's name at the time, but he's written almost like a total of 27 novels. 26, I'm sorry. And his name is Hideyuki Kikuchi.
They are available at Books A Million.
Totally. They are, and they're great. I've got like 14 or 15 of them, and they're a painfully easy read. Really. But they're fun. I really enjoy them. And if you do look for them in Books A Million, you'll find them by the manga, even though it's not a graphic novel at all. It's just a translated novel.
It's just there.
And the great thing about these books is they're illustrated by Yoshitaka Amano, who did some of the illustrations for Final Fantasy VI back in the day, and he's done things for Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Really a fantastic artist, and if you've never seen any of his stuff, take a look. I mean, it's beautiful, really.
It's cool. All right. Next question. All right. What is your favorite toy growing up? Now this can be anything. This can be like from a tricycle to a. Okay, so my favorite toy growing up was I got this Megazord from the little Power Rangers. Everybody knows what it is. Like the one that actually worked. Like it worked. Like you could put them together and take them off, and it was just fun. It's hours of fun.
Well, if we're talking about like early childhood favorite toy, at my grandparents' house we had this sort of bike sort of thing. It wasn't really a bike more than it was a wagon, but it's called a push me pull you. Literally, you're moving the handlebars back and forward, and it propels you on the pavement. It's really cool. It was super fun. I enjoyed it, but I think just general childhood cool toy was Polly Pockets. They were cooler than Barbies because they had more clothes, and it was really hard to rip or stain the stuff because it's all made out of rubber. And they still exist today.
And that's actually pretty awesome, and that kind of ties into one of my favorite toys, although it's not my de facto favorite toy. Back when Polly Pocket started out, and they started getting really big, they released a boy version of it, and it was called Mighty Max. And there was actually a cartoon on early mornings, and I would watch it every day before school, and it was so great. And the toys were really cool too. I mean, like little itty bitty things, and it seemed like back then in the early 90s, they wanted you to have toys that you would choke on, like Micro Machines and Mighty Max and Polly Pockets and stuff like that.
And well, recently, I mean, they've changed that, and I think they've changed a lot of the clothes that had to do with it. They're larger and stuff like that to reduce the choking hazard.
Yeah, I always found that weird. It's like, let's just make something really small. And I mean, it's a good idea, but these little kids, little 2-year-olds, they just go, this looks delicious because it's so bright and colorful. Oh wait.
Well, it was basically a portable toy. You could really bring a whole world with you, and have your own little thing, and do whatever. But my actual de facto favorite toy when I was growing up were the He-Man action figures. Yeah, I am that old. They were awesome. He-Man had a squishy head, but whatever. It was still cool. I had tons of action figures. I had a giant, snake castle thing that had this little Mr. Microphone attachment to it, so you could talk into it and be like, "Oh, I'm Skeletor, rawr." It was the coolest thing ever as a kid, like really.
I think one of my high school economics teachers actually looked like Skeletor. I'm not even joking.
You should have gotten a picture of that because that would
have
been funny. All right. What is the first system you ever had, and what system do you own now? I think technically my first system was the Super Nintendo, which I was like 2 years old, and I don't think I ever got to play it really, except for maybe like 2 button presses, like because my dad used to play it. The first system I remember ever owning was a Nintendo 64. That was when I first started, and it was Super Mario 64. That's just where I started. My brother, on the other hand, he has the arcade games, and he's really good at them. The systems I own now, I'm more of a PC and a Wii U gamer kind of thing. I like the computer games because PC is the superior master race. I'm just saying. I'm just saying because.
Oh, put on your crown, why don't you?
I'll put it on too. I'm in agreement. I'm PC, Steam player all the way. With all those sales and everything, I definitely agree. And I've got a Wii U myself. The first system I actually ever had was the first Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, back in the early 80s. And I think we got our first one in 85 or 86, like right around there. And it was really great to have that sort of thing around the house because it really helped. It really established a bond with me and my mother because we would spend hours trying to beat Contra or Mario or things like that. It's pretty awesome, though.
Well, I do. I own a PC myself. I don't play it as much because I have a laptop. I don't have this crazy, wonderful gaming computer. I don't have that kind of money. Now, of course, my friends could help me build one, but right now I lack the patience for that. The first system I ever owned, the first system that I played was actually at my friend Cassie's house. We played like the N64 and stuff like that. It got me interested in video games, but because of how I grew up, my parents were a little more they wanted me to read, they wanted me to go outside, they wanted me to do more intellectually stimulating things other than video games. Of course, once I got older, they realized, it is intellectually stimulated. It's a creative thing. First one I actually owned was a Game Boy Color. And I played all those games on there, and then I progressed to a Game Boy Advance, and so on and so forth. First one I actually owned and bought with my own money was a GameCube. I was in 5th grade, and that was the first one that I bought. I remember the second game I bought was the Need for Speed Underground. First thing I owned, other than that, was the Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion. But I remember I hated Need for Speed Underground, so I sold it to a classmate of mine.
Ugh.
And so that was my first sort of experience in game trading. Now I still own a PS2 after all these years. I have a PlayStation 3, a PS4. I do have Steam on my laptop. I have a Wii, a PS Vita, a PSP, and a 3DS XL, which is one of my favorite gaming systems.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very portable, very fun, and it has a large selection.
Definitely. The 3DS, XL or otherwise, is really popular somehow, so I really don't see how Nintendo's failing because the 3DS is really good.
Well, they're not failing. They're just not making as much money as they want to with the Wii U, which it's going to change in May. It will when Mario Kart 8 comes out, and then when the new Super Smash Brothers comes out, the sales will jump and they'll be fine.
Well, I actually read an article a while back, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm misquoting it, but I seem to recall something to the point of Nintendo could run at a deficit for something like 83 years before they would get to the point where they would have to step up their game to really, catch up to where they're at.
That's definitely a correct quote. That's been talked about in the media for a long time. It was all over Facebook for a number of weeks.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. But don't worry, we'll talk about that later. On a later show, we'll cover all that. All right, so the next question is, what kind of problems do you see in the video game industry? One thing I notice is that Steam in particular is having a lot of indie titles, like shovelware. They just pop it up on here. Like, they just open the floodgates, and the front page is just covered in nonsense. So, Rachel, do you see any kind of problems like that?
With any industry, there's going to be a great deal of problems. A lot of times now, it's getting really repetitive. There's a lot of games that come out that are generally just a rehash of an older game with new characters and maybe a little bit of a change of a storyline. A lot of things that I see is there are way too many first-person shooters. Most people know them as FPSs. Like, literally, they release them once. Call of Duty is released once a year. Battlefield is released once a year. Then they have all the DLC that comes out with it.
All the maps. That's
Yeah, all the maps, all that
$5.
sort of thing. And even beyond that, literally almost everything that is released is based in first-person shooters.
Yeah, it's oversaturated the market, and I'm just ready to see something different. Bryce, do you see any?
Well, yeah, I mean, creative stagnation, of course, and then not listening to what their customers want. I think it's really important for Nintendo to really grasp that people want to play online with other people. It is what it is, you know. Like, I would love to play Mario with the only other friend that I had that has a Wii U. I would love that. That would be great, but I can't. And really, the online functionality is pretty limited. There are some games that really take advantage of that.
Mario Kart.
Well, I'm not familiar with what all that entails yet, but you know.
Well, the on the 3DS, the Mario Kart that was on there had really, really nice online play. I mean, they just now shut it down.
Well, my understanding is the 3DS has some pretty good online multiplayer functionality. I'm referring more towards their console, the Wii U. So
They'll get there. They're still figuring it out.
Yeah, it's like I said, we'll definitely talk about that in a later show, and we'll cover other ideas that I have just now remembered that I had. We'll write this down. Don't worry, we'll get there eventually. All right, so what is your favorite game genre or series? You know, it just like the things I like. I apparently am fond of things like Metrovania games, which are 2D side scrollers that have you run around doing crazy stuff, and it's pretty good. It's like an exploration 2D games. I like those kind of games. So
yeah, I'll agree with you like that. I like Metroid and Castlevania type genres. Like I love RPGs and side scrollers, and Metroid kind of blends those two together. So does Castlevania. In specific, what I was going to mention was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. One of my absolute favorite games, and it blended RPGs and side-scrolling action like seamlessly. I mean, I literally cannot think of anything that I did not like about that game at all. I mean, it was fun to run around, hack and slash, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
I like RPGs. For people who don't know what RPGs are, it's a role-playing game. You get very immersed in the story. It's kind of like watching a movie, but you get to interact with it. It's very interactive. My favorite game or game series is what's called the Tales of series. It's made by Bandai Namco, and it has skits, all sorts of funny stuff. It looks kind of like you're playing an anime. It's really fun. I like them. They're pretty original and enjoyable.
Yeah.
They release them every year to every 2 years.
yeah, I see titles with those names in it. So just real quick, what is the hardest game you have ever played? For me, I would have to say the most recently hard game that I've played is Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, because it literally just almost crushed my soul. The final boss was so hard. The whole Ninja Gaiden series is hard in particular, but I was having trouble. So good. Goodbye.
For me, it was Highlight in the original Nintendo system. To this day, I have a very limited understanding of just how to functionally play the game. It's not that the game was difficult in how to act, in the way that the story progressed and whatnot. It was in actually how you play the game. Like, I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until recently, and I'm 32 years old, and I played this game when I was 9 or 10. It wasn't until recently that I looked at YouTube to find out how to actually play the game. Like, I remember buying it and having it and trying it every now and then, but never being able to functionally get anywhere because the manual was terrible and the gameplay was terrible. Like, you just couldn't figure out what to do out of context. You just couldn't. This would have been the game that would have benefited from today's habit of including a tutorial in the beginning of the video game.
Right. Yeah, basic things like that. Well,
One of those games that makes you rage quit before you even start.
Yeah.
Well, the hardest game I've ever played, I actually just played it recently. It was given to me by someone at work. It was like, hey, you'd probably like this game. You should play it. And I was like, okay. It's called Henry Hatsworth. It's on the DS. It's like this side-scrolling Tetris combination puzzler.
That's really weird.
And I mean, you have to go through the level and destroy these little blocks at the bottom of the screen and make sure the monster blocks do not get back in the level or you die in the game. And it's just incredibly complicated, and I've rage quit it so hard so many different times.
Yeah. There are things like that, and sometimes you just wonder if that's like a masterpiece or just something that somebody's just being a mean person. You know, it's like, did somebody just program this to make me mad or what? So, what is your favorite nerdy movie? Now, this could be like superhero movies or Harry Potter or whatever. I really like The Avengers. I'm just saying, because it had a nice mix of action and comedy. It was just fun. It's just fun for me.
Well, for me, I really enjoyed Labyrinth as a kid. And it may not necessarily be in the typical classical version of what you might think of as nerdy, but like if you look at it from a cult classic type aspect, it's a fun movie. It's got interesting music. It's got Jim Henson puppetry, which is awesome. I can't really go wrong with that. I did want to make a correction from what I said earlier about Nintendo and their deficit. It's actually 38 years, and they have 813 billion yen in the bank, just hanging out. Enough for it to take a 20 billion yen loss every year until 2052.
It's all that Pokemon, I'm telling you. That's what it is.
I mean, they started out as a like a card playing
Hanafuda.
kind of thing, and they sell those still.
Oh,
Yeah, you can get them from one of their websites. Yeah.
You didn't know that?
like I said, I live under a
amazing.
rock. I know. I have so many things to learn.
Of course, my favorite nerdy movies. I love the Harry Potter movies. I adore them. I adored the books. I just love everything about them. However, to play on a vein of not typical things that people would think of as a movie, there's something called The Fearless Vampire Killers. Of course, I wasn't introduced to the movie directly as the movie. I was introduced to it as a German musical first. It called Tanz der Vampir. And it's a Roman Polanski movie. I hate Roman Polanski as a person. He's an awful person, but he's a wonderful director. It's very slapstick comedy, and it's just general fun.
Well, I like slapstick. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I like slapstick. Reiterating. All right, so final question of the day, for now at least. What is your favorite class in an MMO or RPG? Or the same. They could be MMORPG, which is a massive multiplayer online. For those like World of Warcraft, if you've never heard of that. Which, again, we'll talk about that stuff in a later show. My favorite class would be anything that is quick. So anything like a ninja. Because, like I said, them dual katanas, I really like those. My weapon of choice. I don't know why. Don't ask me.
Just looks sweet.
It does. It does. But yeah, anything that's fast and deals a lot of damage very quickly, I like.
Cool. Well, for me, I like, I've played World of Warcraft for many, many, many years. Too many years, honestly, like 7 or 8 years. My favorite class is a paladin, particularly the way they have it, built now. Their functional class, healing, tanking, in the case of World of Warcraft, DPS sometimes. To me, I just enjoy that sort of, that type of character, sort of a cleric of, that particular god, and an emissary from them to, work their words. But that's particularly what I enjoy.
I like sword masters. They're typically a little bit more easy to control. It's not as complicated. They don't have as much button combinations. They don't have to deal with casting times or recharge stuff. They just hack and slash everything.
And they're done.
For me, I like my games easy. I don't like them overly complicated.
Right. Yeah. I never. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Simplicity is a good mechanic to have for some things, but yeah, I understand completely. Now we're just gonna move on to the nerd vocab here. So today's nerd vocab, we actually have something that's quite interesting. I think not a lot of people know that there's a difference to these two words. But the first vocab word is a noob. And now that is a NEWB. This is someone who is new to a video game series or anything like that. So if you hear, if you play like a first-person shooter, like Call of Duty, and they'll say, "Oh, you're such a noob." It's not exactly what they're referring to. It's a bit different. There is a noob, which is NOOB, which is completely different, and that is an insult, pretty much, which is tossed around way too much. Honestly, in my opinion, it's just somebody being mean. It doesn't. So there is a difference between noob, which is NEWB, and noob, which is NOOB. Isn't that?
Yeah, there is a difference, and there's different spellings. I mean, you can change noob, NEWB, to newbie, which is a little bit more appropriate sounding, at least for speaking. And then, of course, you could spell NOOB instead of 2 O's, you could use 2 zeros.
Leet speak.
Leet
Yeah.
speak. And, of course, we'll probably give a different definition for that next time.
Yeah, really.
Next time on Nerd
Bryce,
Vocab,
write that down.
Leet speak.
Oh, gosh. So, one thing I've also mentioned in the show is shovelware. Now, what that is something that a company, like a video game company, has made, and then they just put it out on the shelves. Like, you ever seen the discount bins at the stores and whatnot? That's pretty much what shovelware is. It's just undesirables, and they just put it up there so that hopefully some sap will just pick up the game and they can make some money off of it. All right, well, we're going to take a short little break here, and we'll be right back. And you're listening to the Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. All right, you're still listening to Nerd Edification Hour on Alternation Radio. And now we are going to talk about the new superhero movies that are coming out. So, that'll be interesting. So, the first thing maybe I want to cover is, since it comes out tonight, or tomorrow-ish more so, Captain America, The Winter Soldier. Now, how many of anybody who's anybody, how many of y'all saw this coming? Like, everybody raised their hands?
Definitely.
But a sequel? Yes. The
Yes.
Winter Soldier? I don't know about all that. I'm not really into it. But a sequel? Yeah.
It had to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, the best friend just kind of fell off the train. It was like, oh, wait. Sequel right there. There you go.
Yeah, well,
I
I mean,
mean-
Captain America's a popular character, so of course they were going to do a sequel with him.
Well, yeah, plus, they have to get ready for the next Avengers. But, it looks pretty cool. I think, excuse me, try again. The director, talked about it more of a political kind of action movie, kind of political superhero movie. Could you see that in here in this movie? Just from the trailer, though. Like from what is, Captain America's, like, deciding, try again. But S.H.I.E.L.D. is more so controlling everything now because of the alien invasion. And that's not really sitting too well with Cap. So
Personally, I'm looking forward to the scene where they, he and his old girlfriend, who's now an old woman, reunite. That's what I'm looking forward to. But I mean, I don't really have an opinion on the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. controlling and what he's gonna do. Of course, he doesn't like it. I don't know what he's gonna do. He's probably gonna, give Nick Fury a piece of his mind. But that's.
yeah, I'd like to see that showdown right there. That'd be interesting. Bryce, you?
I abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Me too.
But no, it looks pretty cool. I want to go see it, of course. It just looks like a lot of explosions and the helicarrier apparently crashing a second time, which is, yeah. Or third, I don't know. How many times has that thing crashed now?
It always crashes.
Yeah.
There's always a big, helicarrier explosion.
Hey, there's a fly in the engine on the helicarrier. We're going down.
You would think that they would just figure out, maybe we should just put it in the ocean or, have a little thing on land or something.
Hey, but if it was a boat in the ocean, you know what it would do? It would sink.
It would sink. That's for sure. There's nowhere, and if it was on land, it would implode somehow. Just
Sinkhole. Mysterious sinkhole.
The sinkhole would just pop up, and it's, oh, well, there goes S.H.I.E.L.D. again. We got to
If
build
it's
a
a
new
superhero,
helicarrier.
you bet your sweet baby there is going to be explosion.
Nice.
And a lot of people are excited about this next one, the X-Men, the Days of Futures Past, or the Past in the Behind, or Put Your Behind in Your Past. I don't know what you call it.
It's a really long movie title. I'll give them that.
Yes.
But really, I think what people are most excited about is it's going to be fixing a lot of problems that came about with the whole X-Men trilogy that were released. Now, there was nothing, they were good movies, but if you are really big on, staying close to the canon of what's part of the comic books, there was a lot of stuff that was like, why did you do that? So this is hopefully what fans hope is this is going to fix that. And of course, what also I think people are excited about is Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique.
She appears up a lot in the trailer. I just
Yeah.
want to say a lot. So that'll be definitely interesting. But moving on, the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is mind blown. I didn't think they would. I didn't think they would come up with such a thing. I'm really excited for Rocket because I like him. He's pretty cool. Rocket, he's just a little. Not a raccoon, by the way. Don't call him a raccoon. Bryce, do you recall any Guardians of the Galaxy?
Fly Cooper.
I was just thinking of this meme that I saw online, and basically the top image said something to the point of, the world is just not ready for Wonder Woman, and Marvel is like, here's a raccoon with a machine gun. I thought that was hilarious. That's great. I'm sure it'll be a great movie. I just thought that was funny.
Well, for Doctor Who fans out there, Karen Gillian is in it, and she is bald, and blue. So
Interesting.
I do like Doctor
I
Who.
do like it in the trailer where he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Call me Star-Lord." Who? It's like, what? What kind of name is that? All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the nerd news here, and Rachel will provide you with that. Rachel, do you want to?
Okay, kind of closing down the show. I mean, we got what? Is it 7 minutes left? So we'd figured we'd kind of give you some news about what's going on in the video game world. What was really big this week, or just the past few weeks, was for those of you who are familiar with Oculus Rift, it's a virtual reality sort of gaming offset thing.
Rig.
It's a rig. It looks like a giant helmet, and it's supposed to fully immerse you into a game. I think it would be especially scary for horror games, personally, and that's what the main development is seen on it, is horror games. And there was one about, being a chicken, and I don't know what that was about, but it was really weird.
That sounds.
But the big news about it was Facebook is actually buying Oculus for $2 billion. What makes that big news is Oculus Rift originally started as a Kickstarter. So what a Kickstarter is just general people, you and me, your mom, your dad, your teachers, whoever, donates money to this upstart company in order to develop their product. Now that they have developed it, they are making it, producing it, some people are buying it. It's not being mass produced as far as I know. I haven't seen it in stores. But people do have the Oculus Rift rig. It is now being bought out by Facebook. So what that means for consumers who have contributed to it, that is your money, and it's being sold, and then the company is getting all this money for it. So people are like, are we going to be getting any compensation for this? And also a lot of other people are worried, what's going to become of Oculus. If anything, at least this is my opinion, what I think, it's going to be, they're going to have more wiggle room to develop stuff and improve the software, because Facebook has a lot of money.
Yeah, that Farmville, they grow trees that have money. That's what they do in Farmville. So, anything else interesting, Rachel?
Well, another interesting thing that is, if for those of you who know who Adam Sessler is, he works for Rev3 Games and Discovery Digital Networks. He's a video game personality, covers video game news, kind of like the show here, but is more televised. Not really televised on TV, but I think it's part of videos online. But he's actually leaving. He's kind of bowing out. He's done. He's going to go and do something else. There's more opportunities that he feels that he needs to experience. And that's another big thing that has happened this week in particular.
Yeah, a little more background on Sussler. He actually did did a lot of videos for ZDTV back before they turned into G3, I think it was.
G4?
G4, that's it. Yeah, sorry.
I missed
Whoops.
that channel.
Yeah, me too. It was a great channel. I even loved ZDTV back in the day because it was so painfully nerdy, but it's all computer stuff all the time. But
Well, G4 is a joke now.
it's not.
It's not even
doesn't
G4.
It doesn't even exist. They turned it into a Esquire or GQ.
Yeah,
or,
it has a bunch of like cop shows and stuff like that now.
That
it's
doesn't
like
make any
all man
sense
stuff
whatsoever.
all the time.
Yeah, it used to be. It used to be great. There was a show called X Play, which did video games reviews and walkthroughs, and then Attack of the Show was a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
I
Another
remember.
good show on there was it just showed video game like cutscenes and funny edits, and this one little shorts called The Adventures of Bob and Steve, which was called Cinematech. So it was pretty cool. Another big bit of news that people may be familiar with, it's from the past week or so, is the layoffs of the people at Naughty Dog, and just people leaving and quitting. I'm not exactly familiar on the reasons why, but for those of you who don't know what Naughty Dog is, they developed the Uncharted games. The CEO apparently is left now. The head of the three original people is gone for the Uncharted series. People are freaking out. They don't know
Poof.
what's going on. Sony's had some layoffs. This typically happens every spring in the video game industry. I mean, last year Square Enix CEO left, Wada.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they got a new guy, Mitsuda. He's pretty cool. But yeah, so pretty much just the news is layoffs, businesses acquiring other businesses, and more people leaving.
Right.
That's typically happens every spring.
Now, a while ago, I heard though BioShock had their head person, their CEO, had just disbanded the team pretty much. Like he just wanted to work with a smaller team. I can't remember much about that.
They're reevaluating what they're wanting to achieve with the game series. With
Yeah.
the way they did BioShock Infinite, it was so successful that they want to continue that change of that general weirdness rather than under the sea big daddies and little sisters. They want to do something else, and they liked the kind of alternate history take, and I think they're going to kind of run with that a little bit more.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, if it's what they want to do, like I said, it's like I said in my first show, it's art. They're artists. That's what they do. They make ideas and they try to sell their ideas to make money. So we got 2 minutes almost. Bryce, do you have anything you want to say? Anything?
No.
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 Oh, nothing's shocked you yet. Just
No.
okay. So, there we go. You can check out my podcast on my YouTube channel. That is Just Call Me C with no spaces. Until next week, same time, same day, 3 o'clock on Thursday. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing afterwards, but we'll definitely be here next week. So thank you for listening. You're beautiful. You're an awesome person. And we'll be back. Yes.
Keep
Thank you.
smiling.
All right. Until next week, this has been the Nerd Edification Hour.